forest system. So the forest system is really the base of the understanding of these systems. So here's a picture of Pemberton downstairs. Most people would know, most people who've been there. So on that picture, we can see different level of stratification of vegetation. So we have like big trees, middle-sized trees, shrubs, herbs and small plants that are growing on the surface. And then we have a big lake with clean water. So the water just flows down to the lowest point, and the water is being filtered by the whole ecosystem. So in this place, this system is functioning without human intervention. There's no need for digging the soil, there's no need for fertilizing the soil, there's no need for watering or irrigating. So it just works by itself without us. And the way it works is that, to be simple, I mean, of course, it's a very complex subject, we're just going to skim through, but just to get a general understanding. The branches and leaves are falling from the trees on the surface of the floor, and they are composting on the surface of the floor, and they are creating the necessary nutrients for plants and trees to keep on living. So I'm just going to show you the next picture. So this is like a hole in the forest, and we can see all the different layers. So we got the vegetation, we got the mulch, we got this topsoil, which is full of bacteria, fungi, insects that are there to eat the mulch and transform it into soil. And then we have the subsoil, the bottom soil, which can be clay, sand, loam. And so this layer here is the most important thing in the forest, is the key function of the forest. So it could be different vegetation, it could be different subsoil, but it cannot be a different topsoil. So now that we've talked about forest and how it works, we're going to talk about permaculture and urban farming. And in permaculture and urban farming, this layer is the key function of our systems as well. So we're going to try to mimic those systems and recreate those systems, amplify those systems in order to create our own food in a sustainable way. Okay, so permaculture gardening. So how it works. So the main thing to start with, so permaculture, there's many different topics about permaculture, and we're not going to talk about all the different topics of permaculture, but we're going to focus on food production, because it's something that is very important for us to be able to live. It's what makes the system work. So the main thing is surface composting. And then we're going to talk about how we can combine different productions onto a small space to make a system work. We're going to talk about water management around the house and biodiversity improvement. So here we can see I've got like a small car, a trailer, some wheelie bins, 6 wheelie bins that can fit onto this trailer. And what I do is I source organic matter around the neighborhood to create this topsoil and to amplify this forest system. So in these bins we're going to have some food scraps from the shop, we're going to have some manure, like horse manure, and also different kind of mulch like grass clipping or hay. And so the idea is to collect all this waste and layer it in a certain way to recreate this forest soil. And in the end, it will look like something like that. Alright. So here we are, some example of the vegetable garden beds that I'm building. So this is very unusual for people that do gardening. A lot of people get surprised with that. So here we built some garden beds with pallet wood, which is not untreated wood. So we don't want to use any plastic, we don't want to use anything that's going to be left behind. Whatever we do needs to be compostable. So in many, many years, if we leave the place, there will be no trace of our activity on this farm. And then in that case, we've been building some little cabin made of pallet wood, and this is all the offcuts of bits and pieces of wood that we just lay on the surface of the ground without digging the ground, without touching the ground, without doing anything to the ground. So we just lay this wood waste on the surface. But just so you know, like it doesn't have to be wood, it could be anything compostable. Like it could be your bamboo toothbrush, it could be your hemp shirt, compostable clothing. It could be compostable plastic if it was good compostable plastic. It could be loofah sponge. It could be various different things. So that's the first step of creating this layer. So this is another example where we just have logs of wood that we find into the neighborhood that we just lay just as is on the surface with a bit of cardboard in the bottom. And on top of the screen there, we can see food scrap. So the idea is we want this wood to decompose. And to make it decompose, well, we're going to need some green, fresh, organic matter that we layer on top. So here we go, that's another photo. So here we go, like we have a garden bed, we just laid like a lot of food scrap on top of the wood. And yeah, so these food scraps, as it decomposes, it's going to help decomposing the wood. Now, for decomposition to happen, we also need some fungi, some bacteria, some different kind of insects. And this is something we're going to get with horse manure, for example. It could be other kind of manure, but this is where we source our bacterial system. So that's it. And then to make it look clean in the end, we're just gonna layer everything with some mulch. So it can be grass clipping, it can be hay, I guess it could be wood chip, but I don't really like wood chip myself. But we like to use locally sourced materials, so in most cases it would be grass clipping from the local gardens. So this is surface composting. So in this situation, we don't need to aerate the compost because it's on the surface, it will be always aerated. And also, we're gonna start planting on top of it pretty much straight away. So what I do generally is I just use a bit of pre-made soil that I lay on top of the mulch, just a thin layer, maybe 20 mil, 30 mil, and then I just start planting seedlings in it, or I can start even put my seeds in it straight away, and the plants will grow as the organic matter decomposes, as it would in a forest system. Yeah, so there are different techniques of stratification that we can use. So yeah, so this is a permaculture way of gardening, and also a way of managing our waste. So here we go, like this is what happened after a while. This this is a fungi system. So this is mycel growing on the surface of the ground after a few months. And this is a very beneficial thing for the garden. So it's just one example.
Did you add that, or did
No. This is what's happening by itself.
It came with like the horse manure, maybe, or you?
Well, the whole system, like
mushroom
wood,
compost.
yeah, the decomposing wood actually does create a lot of fungi activity.
Yeah, great.
Alright, and this is what the very grey sand, earth sand looks like after a year when I'm digging my garden. So it's really black, rich, full of nutrition, and yeah, it was easy to do, it didn't cost me anything. Yeah.
So from his first initial bed, you managed to plant for the entire year without adding anything?
Without
So his first bed, when you finished and started planting, then you harvested your first crop, and then you planted
so
again.
we're gonna go through that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just showing you surface composting, and then what it looks like after a year. So now we're gonna talk about all these different things that we can make work together around the garden. So here we've just built 2 worm farms. So this is 2 bathtub turned into a worm farm. So basically what we do is we create a compost inside the bathtub, and then we put a few worms, and the worms are gonna reproduce in there. And when we do surface composting, we just add a scoop of worm in the organic matter to boost the system. And so this is a bit like a culture that we keep on the side, and then we give a little bit of worms to the garden beds, and then everything's going to decompose and turn into good soil. So it's a bit like a sourdough system, where the big garden bed is going to be our bread, and this is the life culture that we keep on the side. And of course, everything is made with untreated pallet wood that will, in the end, go back into the garden and be part of the system as well. So we don't want to leave any waste behind. So this is an example of, so that was just a few weeks ago actually. Yeah. So now that we've created the topsoil and the fertility, we have to create the ecosystem that's going to feed us. So here we have the different level of vegetation. So we have some fruit trees, we have some grain plants, we have some herb plants, we have some ramping vegetation on the ground, and also we have different elements like beehives that will pollinate the flowers, chicken that are going to come around and do their job around the garden. Yeah, there we go. Chickens. Alright, and now we're going to talk a bit about water management. So the 3 things that we need to grow food or to grow any sort of vegetation is water, sun, and nutrition. So if there's any way that we can save water or collect water, then we should do it. In that case, what we've been doing is we've just put a tank where the gutter is and collecting rainwater. That's another very simple system where we just collect the water from the sink. So we don't use any chemical when we do our dishes, and then the water goes straight out of the sink to the garden and feeds the plant. And this is what we get. So also what I'm trying to do is to garden with the seasons. So for me, my understanding of this place is that we have 6 seasons, those 6 Nungla seasons, and the beginning of the year where things are starting to grow is now, pretty much. So macro, this is a macro garden, and so this garden is full of biodiversity, full of food, and there's no fertilizer used, and there's no reticulation system. So it just grows as is.
watered? That's
No.
Just from the rain.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because mackerel season is the fertile season.
Yeah.
So it's the it's the June-July season. So June-July in Perth is the season where we get cool temperature, consistent rain, and so that's the season when plants are starting to grow. That's the season when seeds are starting to germinate. So yeah, so it's growing. It's very green, as you can see. And this is the sun garden during the Gilbert season. So Gilbert season is August, September, so it's the flowering season. So as you can see, all the plants have grown almost to their full potential. So here, maybe you don't know, but there's some mustard, there's some fennel, there's some broccoli, there's some cauliflower, there's some radish, there's some kale, and there's nettles. There's a lot of diversity of plants that are all edible and all very healthy. Here we go. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Sorry, but how'd you do that? Okay. And this is Canberra garden. So this is the grain season. So now that we've gone through the flowering season, all the plants are going to grain. And so the way we consume as well is that we don't really rip out the radish or the beetroot. We just eat from the plant without ripping out the plants. So we only eat the leaves as it grows, the flowers as they come, and then we try to collect all the grains that comes from this vegetation. So here we can see the lettuce have gone to flower, the beetroots have gone to flower, the carrots are going to flower, and we're going to collect all these seeds, and we're going to consume these seeds after as well, and plant and replant some of it for the next season. And this is the Birak season. So here, in normal circumstances, it should be dry. Birak season is December, January part of the year. So it should be very dry. But because we have a waste water management system around us, and because it's next to the house, then we can use this water and we can get things to grow during that dry season. And we can grow different kind of vegetables in that season as well. And this is the Bunero season. So the same principle, we're using the water, using water wisely as well. So on this picture, you can see the different level of vegetation as well. So we've got like a massive olive tree, and we have like here an orange tree, and in between those trees, we have a corridor with our garden beds, and with our vegetables growing. So we have different levels with the corn and kale and different herbs and pumpkins. And so the idea also is that we want to grow the trees with the vegetable garden bed, because we need to water the garden beds, and so the excess water that will go through into the soil will be used by the tree roots that are a bit deeper. So then we don't use water so much. We don't waste water so much. One stone, two birds. We can water the garden and water the trees that are around it, and then these trees are growing and they're gonna produce more organic matter. And the idea is that we keep on layering organic matter on the surface to keep the soil fertile. And so these trees are gonna participate in the continuity of the fertility of this place. So at the beginning we bring food scrap from outside, and the more we are growing vegetation, the less we need organic matter from outside. And so this is Jerem garden, so that's the season, April, May, so this is the season we are in right now. So it's a bit of a transition season where we go from the hot, dry summer to the wet season, the macro season. Alright, so that's just a few examples of the gardens, the way they look like. So as you can see, they're very diverse, there's lots of biodiversity. and lots of elements that are working together. So fruit trees, bees, animals like chickens, herbs, and vegetables. Alright, so the health benefits of doing such things. Well, if you buy food from the shop, it's probably going to be coming from somewhere far away, and the vitamins are just going away hour after hour once the produce has been picked. So having having a garden like this right in front of your house is the way to eat the most healthy food you can get. Even if you go to the 5-star restaurant or to the organic shop, you cannot get this quality of food, just for the reason that it's local. Now it's also a better quality food because there's no fertilizer used in the process of growing this food. This food is growing in rich soil. So of course we have the primary elements that the plant needs to grow, but there are also many more elements in the alive soil that makes this food more nutritious than conventional food. Yeah, that's just another example of what we get every day from the garden, and what the food that we eat looks like. Yeah, and also, I mean, that's my personal opinion, but I think that eating colorful food is a way to stay healthy. So I don't consider this food as just food. I think it's also medicine. Like, if you eat that every day, there's a chance you're not going to see your doctor much. And if you already have health problems, eating like this every day will definitely get you out of trouble. Right. Probably missing out many things, but yeah.
Wait, so if you can I ask you a question?
Yeah, but hang on, but look, I'm just going to go through the presentation, and then we're going to have time to ask questions. So yeah, so there are also other health benefits than just physical benefits. Also like mental benefits, like if you live in a place where there's like lush, green environments, it's gonna be good for your well-being. If you get up to birds singing every day and you're touching the soil with your hands and you're part of that ecosystem, it's definitely a way to stay mentally balanced. And also, yeah, social benefits. I mean, I give food to my neighbors, and I think it keeps the relationship quite good. I give them some honey; they love it. You know, and also there are other people like me that like to do these kind of things. So you know, we can swap seeds, we can swap ideas, exchange, and I think it's a very good way to get away from that bubble that we, in today's modern society, we all go to the shop and we don't talk to anyone, and we all like closed in. This kind of setup is really good to get away from these problems. All right. Environmental benefits. Well, creation of natural habitats. You know, if you have this kind of environment, straight away you're gonna see new insects, new animals, new birds coming around your house. Like there's gonna be more bees. There's gonna be more of many things, and in today's world it's a big problem. Like we've lost 60% of the biodiversity in the last 15 years. So this is definitely a way to rebuild our biodiversity. Yeah, and also carbon sinks. So carbon is the big topic nowadays. Everybody talks a lot about it. And the idea that we're getting food scrap from the local shop and bring it to our place, that alone saves a lot of carbon from going into the atmosphere. So a good waste management system is good for the environment for that reason. And once we have this top layer of soil and we have vegetation growing on it, then also this system is absorbing carbon. So for many reasons, it's good for not throwing carbon into the atmosphere. It's a good way to sink carbon. also, with this kind of setup, we use low tech. Like, I don't use machinery with engines or petrol or anything like that. You know, like all my tools, I can fix them myself, and I'm really not dependent on any big corporation company to keep up with my tools. So it's just easy practice, efficient practice, with a low impact on the environment once again. All right, and well, no transport and no packaging, and that's a big thing. Like all the food that we eat nowadays comes from here and there. Like some of the apples that have been grown down south goes to England, and you know, there's all sorts of stories like that. And climate change is responsible. Transport is responsible for climate change. Right? So having your food right next to your house is good for your house, but it's good for the environment as well for these reasons. And packaging. I just took this picture, just not to shock anyone, but the reality is we have plastic all over the place now. And even if you go to an organic shop, like there's plastic involved in it, there's plastic involved in transporting it. So having your own food grown at home is good for not using packaging. And this is really something that we need to work on. Alright. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about circular economy. So the system we live in today is linear economy. So it's take, make, dispose. Just don't care. We just use whatever we want and throw everything into the landfill without even thinking about what's in it. Like all the food scrap goes with the packaging deep into the soil. I mean, it's something that's not going to last long, obviously, we all know that. And the concept of circular economy is something very complex. Like, we're not going to be able to talk too deep into that subject, but just to get the idea, like this is what you will find on the internet if you look for circular economy, like a system where we recycle material and produce stuff with it, and then use it, and it goes back into a circular system. But realistically, like what I'm doing is similar to this, but it's not really about recycling, but it's about composting. Like the idea is that for a system to really work well, we could mimic the natural system and just have more compostable produce around us and use this compostable produce to regenerate ecosystems. And then also, I guess, eventually, if the scale is big enough, we could tap into these ecosystems and get into a circular sort of system. Also, in this circular economy system, like what we want to think is that the human needs and the environments are in the center of the economy. Like nowadays, a farmer just grows heaps of wheat, but he doesn't care who he's going to feed with it. So we're just growing as much food as possible just to make lots of profit, and half of it goes in the bin in the end. So if we don't consider what we need, then we're going to have problems. We are having problems because of that. So we have to rethink the priority of our production. Yeah. Yeah, and so I wanted to talk to you about Terra Preta. I don't know if anyone has heard about Terra Preta. So all these ideas and concepts, it's not new. So Terra Preta, so in the Amazon forest, some scientists and researchers, they found some really unbelievable good quality soil. So you can see here the two different kinds of soil that we can find in the Amazon forest. So on the left, classic soil from the forest, and on the right, what they call a Terra Preta. And here, that's a Terra Preta trench, a bit more in details, where we can see all the different elements that is in the ground. And what they found there is that this soil is full of clay pots, bones, biochar, like charcoal. And so what they realized is that there was like ancient civilization that was living there back in the days. And they, through their activities, through their lifestyle, they have created the most amazing soil on Earth. So I want to point out the idea that our lifestyle, the way we live, the way we consume, the way we manage our resources, can be not a problem, but a solution to create the most amazing soil and create the most amazing forest. So it's just a matter of switching, turning the problem into a solution, and making sure that we human, we are beneficial elements of nature, of the ecosystem, and not a problem to nature. All right, and so I just want to talk quickly about my vision. So I've been doing lately for the last 8 months a big project in Fremantle, and so I've been doing exactly what I've been telling you, layering organic matter, sourcing organic waste from around the neighborhood to recreate soil and to recreate ecosystems. And then I thought, well, maybe this is what the landfill will look like in the future. Like, maybe if everything that we were consuming was compostable, then we could use it in a way that we regenerate ecosystems. And so I like to think that we could do that. So I'll just show you a few pictures. This was the place about a year ago. It was just blank, just a few weeds growing, and there was a few fruit trees in the back. And yeah, we've just been, like you already seen this picture, but this is the place. This is what we've been doing. And then layer this different kind of organic matter on top of this wood. And yeah, this is what it looks like now. So my vision is that landfill in the future could look like that. That's it.
Thank you very much, Raphael. That's a really inspiring talk. So you, when Barb and I visited his project here in Fremantle, it was like, my God, we've got so much work to do in our place. It was very inspiring to see what you've achieved in such a little amount of time. I'm sure we've got lots of questions. Would someone like to ask a question of Raphael?
What about fruit trees where you've got to keep digging in something that's been like a, got a big root ball? What do you dig down and then?
So sorry, what was it?
Yeah, fruit trees, and you're planting sort of reasonably, like 5-year-old fruit trees with big roots.
Yeah.
In a pot into the ground. What would you?
What would I do?
How would you? You wouldn't obviously do it on the surface like.
No. Well, in that case, what I would do is I would dig a hole. I will put a few worms in there. I will take the tree out of the pot. I would put the roots into the hole. Of course, I would put a lot of water in that hole as well to make sure there's lots of moisture. And then I will cover the hole with lots of organic matter. So the idea is, if I put worms in the bottom, then I'm going to put organic matter, fresh organic matter, on the surface as a mulch for these worms to keep eating. And then I will keep on adding layers of mulch around that tree to keep that life around it. And we've been doing that, and the trees have been growing really, really well, really, really fast.
You layer it with the same layer.
Yeah, so we'll use the same technique.
Sort of,
Just the difference is we're going to dig a hole to put the roots in, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Build it up.
But yeah, we'll use the same technique of having compost on the surface or organic matter on the surface.
Yeah.
When you were putting the food scraps, did you have to be very careful not to put sort of all meat scraps?
Yeah, but generally there's no meat in it. Yeah, so no meat. Generally, like if you have a worm farm, you would know to not put meat in it.
Yeah.
If I have to deal with meat, or if I end up having meat and I want to use it in the system, I will bury it. Generally, if we bury bodies, it's for a reason. Yeah, so meat, bury it.
Like if you're getting old scraps from a cafe or something, you just got to go through it and buried meat a bit deeper.
Like generally they don't throw away meat in it. Like this is all food scraps from fruit and veg shop or Coles and Woolworths, you know, and they give us like lettuce leaf, cabbage leaf and stuff like that. So we don't get meat in it. But yeah, if it's only one piece of meat, I guess you could bury it. If you got a lot of meat, yeah, it's a monster.
Which is actually a good point for permaculture because as an ecosystem you need the input from animals, but also in urban environments we don't have cows and horses that much, and we do have few chicken. We need to think of the production, the animal consumption of the animal as well. And so we need what the animal produce, and ideally we kill the animal and get all the protein and all the good stuff from them. It's how to manage the city.
So what do you mean, like the food that we're gonna give to the chicken?
No,
Or the food that
how
we're
to
gonna get from
manage
the chicken?
those projects where you follow the permaculture principle and you have the input from animals, meaning the function they play in your
function they play,
ecosystem as much as what the manure they create. But ultimately, in permaculture, you consume them to get the goods from them. What they provide to you.
But look, I mean, it's
How do
totally.
we manage this?
It's totally doable. I mean, the chicken at my place. Well, I mean, they do lay the manure everywhere, and it's beneficial for the system, but it's not crucial for the system. Like we could have this growing without the chickens.
Okay.
It's just another input. It's just another element that we add to the system.
So do you think we will have the same yield, quality of yield?
I would-
impressive without
This,
chicken, the manure?
in this case, in fact, there was no chicken on this photo, so we didn't really need the chicken. Now we like to have chicken in the system so we can eat eggs. Really, that's the thing. Of course, they're going to produce manure, so it's going to be beneficial, but not crucial. So the idea also is to have a more diverse, more diversity of food. Like you can't only eat vegetables. So, but and in that case, of course, we're getting lots of stuff from outside to cover the soil. But some of the stuff that we get from outside, we can also use to feed our chicken. When I get a bin full of food scraps, well, I give some to the chicken. I feed them that way. When they go around, they're digging, they're eating some worms, some insects, so they can feed themselves that way. So I still do have to give them a few grains, that I buy. But ultimately, I guess, if we were very well established and very well prepared, we would grow like grain crops and grain plants that we could actually use to feed our chicken with. So it is possible. It is possible. Of course, we can't have a cow, but chicken is alright.
Because that's interesting, sorry to point like permaculture, when you look at the paddock and countryside, you can build this beautiful picture of the functioning ecosystem. The challenge when you talk is interesting for this, it's the urban setting.
Urban space, absolutely.
Small land, probably where we don't produce enough for families' needs.
For me, I see it as a beneficial thing. Like, I've got friends that live down south, and they want to do things like this. And for them, it's harder in the country to do that than it is in the city. Because in the country, where are you going to get your food scrap from? Like in the city, that's where all the abundance of waste is coming. So we have infinite amount of resources to do these kind of things. If you live in the country, well, you're very limited.
That's an excellent point.
So,
See how kangaroos. So in the urban environment, the problem I find is rats. Not so much mice and Perth, but there's Whiteham Valley Hills and Hamilton Hills. It's full of rats. And also other bugs like fruit flies with the fruit. If I don't cover the trees, what can I do if I don't want to spray the trees?
No, spraying.
No, I don't spray them, but I lose a lot.
No, there are solutions. Well, for the rats, it's easy. Cats. No, it's true. I mean, rats is something that's been brought from Europe, and it's a problem now in Australia because they're thriving in the suburbs. But me, I've got 2 cats, and I don't have rats.
But what about the impact on birds, wildlife, cats?
What I say to that is, okay, maybe the cats are eating a few birds, but before we blame the cats for wiping out bird species, we have to blame ourselves. Like, the reason why there are bird species disappearing is because of deforestation and it's because of human activity. Like, it's too easy to not look at what we do as humans and blame it on the cats. Like, it's not the few cats. I mean, of course, they've been killing a few birds, it's true. But the real responsible person is humans. So for me, white people are living in this country, they're not gonna go back, you know. And they brought with them all these seeds and all these animals, and rats and cats work together, and they've always been. You know, like you see the Egyptians, they had cats everywhere because they had to manage their rat population.
If you don't get a cat, is there another solution?
Is there another solution than cats?
Getting a cat, yeah.
But not really, in fact. No, there's no
My
solution.
beagle eats rats. My beagle eats rats.
Like a dog, you mean?
Faces the
Yeah, but
cats.
for dogs it's harder. Like cats are really designed to eat rats. So you need cats. You know, that's it. That's
So
the way it is.
Karen doesn't have a cat. No,
The neighbors do.
Neighbours.
Yeah, yeah. So they are, you know, like it's the same. Like we're not gonna be able to get rid of rats with poison, and they are around, so we have to deal with it.
So for you, we solved the problem with cats?
Absolutely.
Because you got fair bit of it's open and
Yeah,
it's food.
absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying that there's no more rats,
Yeah.
but the rat population is totally under control. Like, I see one every, I don't know, every few months, you know? Like, and I go sometimes to people places and I see rats going up and down the fence, you know, every 2 minutes. And what they need is cats.
So what about the lady's other part of the lady's question?
And there was
fruit
another
fly,
question.
fruit fly and
And
other
fruit flies,
insects.
yeah.
So what do you do for that?
So
We
fruit
have the
flies,
same fruit fly for
so fruit
themselves.
flies, yeah. So what I do in that system is that we've been fencing the area. So we've got like an orchard, and then we have an area with vegetable garden, and then another orchard. And so we've been fencing around the orchard, and so we want to separate. Like you can see here, there's a fence in the back, right? So you got the tree and the fence. Then you got the veggie garden. And so the area where the trees are will be an area where the chicken can live. So the chicken can do their thing around the trees, they're gonna dig the soil out, they're gonna poo, they're gonna fertilize the ground, and also they're gonna do something, because the fruit flies are coming from the ground, right?
Yeah.
And they're going up. And so by turning up the soil, and they're gonna eat them, and they're gonna
Okay.
control them. I'm not saying there's not gonna be any, but it will.
Yeah, I've seen that
Be
part. Now
self-controlled,
I know
yeah.
why I've known
So-
someone who did that.
Yeah. So chicken is a way to
Chicken
control
and
them.
ground.
There's also a baiting system that you can make using apple cider vinegar and so forth, and you can cut plastic bottles, turn it upside down so the spout's going in, so they can just go into the apple cider vinegar solution
Yeah, like
and they can't come out basically. So it's just a natural trap.
Or kombucha, they're in my kombucha
Kombucha.
because I left it too long.
Yeah.
They're all in there. Yeah.
Shame on you.
So what you're saying
Yeah.
is that to fight things like fruit flies, we really need to focus on developing over time an ecosystem where each animal can play a role, give you eggs, but also
Also,
help
yeah,
bees.
fertilize the trees and neutralize the fruit flies. Yeah, of course. I mean, there are many other different elements around it, but yeah, that's one of them.
Do you have beehives on where you're working usually?
Yeah, beehives as well. Yeah. I mean, these are beneficial for pollination, increasing yield, and they produce honey. So, like we have to work with bees. Yeah, absolutely.
Benchmark clay or a clay system. Do you put any clay? or
Clay? Yeah.
Rock
No.
dust and stuff
No.
like that? Anything like that? So
So
it's a trace mineral. So those
trace
ones,
minerals, yeah, absolutely. So here, it's sandy soil, there's no clay,
Yep.
and there's problem with trace minerals.
Yeah.
Well, there will be some trace minerals in the food scraps that we put in.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't put any minerals in there,
No.
right? And it's in the sand,
Yeah.
so it did work. You know, we got a yield. Like just to tell you, this corn, I've grown from seeds to a corn in 2 months.
Yeah.
They had absolutely no problem to grow at all, and we didn't use any rock dust or anything.
So you're saying it's getting easier in the system?
But the more you add organic matter on the surface, the more it becomes fertile. So, but even from the first time that we met it, it was very fertile already the first time. So in that case, we didn't need so much rock dust or anything like that. If you can see if you need rock dust, you know, if the leaves are starting to go yellow and you see the different colors, then okay, you know, you can add a bit of Epsom salt if you want. But also there's another thing that we didn't talk about, but urine have a lot of minerals and NPK and that's another topic. But you know, like all the urine from the city goes into the toilets, into the water system, and eventually goes down into the river. And now maybe you don't know, but the Swan River, there's like lots of oxygen pumping oxygen into the water to stop the algae from growing, because basically the river is dying. And it's dying because of excessive amount of phosphorus in the water. And it's because all of this urine goes, eventually all this phosphorus goes to the river. And also we're using a lot of synthetic phosphorus to grow the crop along the river. So it's like double problem. And if you collect your own urine, you dilute it with water, you put it into your garden where you're solving the problem of the river, and you can put a food in it. So, you know, there are
So by
solutions.
adding bentonite clay, you've got sand, which has got lots of air particles, so water just goes through, minerals, everything just goes through.
It just goes through,
all those particles. There's so many air pockets, so if you add a bentonite clay or a clay, bentonite clay is the most popular, it grabs those sand particles and it brings them together.
Yeah.
So it binds it and it basically turns sand into soil.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
But the only problem is where to get it.
Yeah,
That's the thing, you know.
you can
It's
get
very
it at
heavy.
soil places. You
I
can
know,
buy
then you
it
have to
in
pay for
bags,
it.
but it's purchasing.
Like the idea in that system is that we're using waste to create the garden.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to be spending money, or we don't want to be making any industry thriving. It's bad to say that, but also there are other ways to keep the nutrients on the surface. I understand what you're saying, that the nutrients are being washed out with the water. It can't be old.
Yeah.
But if you have, like, for example, a big log of wood on the ground, on the surface, it will take years for that log of wood to decompose, and some of the nutrients can be held in this wood. Also, biochar, like, you know, if we can use wood as a source of energy, and we can create charcoal, and then lay this charcoal into the ground, and then it will do that as well. It will hold the nutrients. Bones are really good as well. Bones are porous, and they retain nutrients. So the idea is, like, what can we do to manage our waste in a way that it will allow us to, you know, have nutrients in the ground, nutrients that stays in the ground.
Collecting eggshells, letting the eggshells dry out, putting them into a blender so it turns into a dust, and you sprinkle it on
Absolutely.
as well as the calcium.
There are so many things.
Yeah.
You know, basically, if you put plastic aside, almost everything we use could go back into the ground. Like even old rusty nails, you know, they're made of iron, and we need iron. You know, you got copper, you put copper, you need copper.
Put tins in.
Yeah, you know, zinc, you know, all these minerals that we use could go back into the ground. So, you know, it's just a matter of managing it in the right way, do the right thing.
I watched a really interesting documentary last night, and it was talking about mushrooms, so it's medicinal mushrooms, but the bees sort of came into the conversation as well. It's such an amazing documentary. I'll send it to you later.
Yeah.
But they were basically talking about the bears in the forest, and the bears used to go and scratch the trees, and then the government went, oh, the bears are doing harm to the forest, so let's get rid of the bears. But what actually was happening, the bears were scratching the tree, the bees were coming along, eating, can't think of the name of the,
The sap.
Yes, that.
The sap.
eating the sap from
the tree, from the wound.
from the trees, taking it back, and they were fixing their hives. They also show this bed of mushrooms and compost and whatever, and it went from this height down to this height in just 3 months or to a year, whatever it might have been. And basically the bees were coming to eat all of the mycelium, the mushroom, taking it back to their hive. They were fixing the hives. So it was
So you
such
see,
an
there's no
incredible documentary.
exactly, yeah. And I mean, it just proves that we as humans we don't understand the whole picture,
Yeah.
and we have to accept the fact that we don't understand the whole picture.
Mm.
So what we want to do is create a system that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
So if you've got trees like your birches, go and scratch them because the bees will.
well,
come
yeah,
to
and I mean, Aboriginal people used to do it as well. You know, they
Yeah.
used to scratch the trees to get the gun out and eat it. You know, on the way back. So of course, there are a lot of different functions in nature, and we don't understand all of them. So we have to step back a bit and try to do the right thing and understand that there are things. I mean, the photo's not there anymore.
Oh, sorry.
But, but like there's many reasons why we understand why it works, but I know that there are also many reasons why it works that I don't understand. You know, but because it goes with the flow of nature, we're trying to mimic the forest system. We just mimic a few of the things, and all the rest of the things that we don't know about just follows. So
That's why another aspect like here we saw the beautiful expanse of Moo block. But the block, you know, like you experience what you're doing successfully, but it would be interesting to see how we can expand, because if land is limited in an urban environment, how at the scale of a neighborhood, you know, someone may have a bigger tree there, someone may have more sunshine here, and how people could grow something and swap it because they can't grow everything they need, and how we can create a sense also of community. You talk about social benefits.
absolutely.
Because not everybody can access even a sunny spot. You know,
No, absolutely, yeah, of course. And I mean, it's true that if the whole neighborhood was doing these kind of things, then of course there would be a lot of produce being swapped, and it would be easier for some people to produce this kind of thing, and other people would produce other things. It could be.
Still, suddenly someone may have a tiny spot, produce one or two things, but then
And swap it.
combine
Yeah.
with street land and community.
Absolutely,
Nice
absolutely.
project and beautiful team.
And also, I mean, there's the street, of course, there's the urban space, but if you go up the river, not far away from the city, Caversham and all these areas are full of farming land that is depleted soil. Like they're just pumping lots of chemical into the soil, and it's not that far away. We could definitely expand here. Yeah, there's space to expand for sure, and the resources are there.
Thank you. Seeking the number of questions, and we just keep this conversation going forever. There'll be plenty of opportunity to talk to Raphael for the next hour or so we're here for. So please join me in thanking Raphael for a very interesting talk. It was really great seeing you. What you've done is just amazing in such a short amount of time, so it's really good. So thank you.
Cheers, Ed.
All right. Okay, so before we just get stuck into the informal part of the evening, okay, got Barb Howard here. She's the treasurer for Living Earth Projects, also my wife.
I'm not.
my co-urban farmer, and she's going to talk a little about the food and the drinks tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not going to be asking for money. What I wanted you to know is that George and I are doing a holistic management course at the moment with a colleague called Craig Mancini, and Craig mentioned last week when we were at Mures, and Louise was with us as well, that he's got a small vineyard and he wants to make that into a business for himself, and it's up in the hills. So I heard that and thought, well, he could be an ideal person to supply us with some wine. So I went up to his vineyard over the weekend. Craig would have been here with us, but he's up in Broome on holiday with his wife. Craig and his wife own a small vineyard called Samari, and they use regenerative agriculture practices to manage their vineyard production. They've got 0.25 of a hectare and 355 vines, so it's not a huge amount of land. The vines were planted across 2 years in 2000 and 2001, and they've got 5 separate varieties: Shiraz, Merlot, Sauvignon Blanc, and Cabernet Sauvignon. The vines are VSP, vertical shoot positioning. I'm not quite sure what that means, but and they're using trellising and between 20 and 21 years of age. Each season, the vineyard produces approximately 550 litres of wine from the 5 varieties. Craig is producing white and red table wines, which you've tried, a sparkling Semillon, a port, and for the first time this vintage, a rosé. So tonight we're drinking Craig's 2019 Semillon Sauvignon Blanc and a 2019 Merlot. The 2018-19 growing season was very good, producing strong fruit with great flavours that resulted in a vintage Craig was very happy. So I'm hopeful you're happy with what you've tried.
Yes, indeed.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Red is very good.
And from the perspective of the food, Bernard has mentioned that we've transformed our garden, our front lawn, into a producing garden. Now, I come from New Zealand, so I was used to really good, healthy, productive soil, lots of rain, didn't have to work very hard and things just grew. And it was a big shock to me when I came to Western Australia 23 years ago. It's only been in the last few years that I've really been able to work out how to grow food in the sand. And that's been transforming sand into soil. And so we've grown 50 pumpkins this year and a huge amount of kumara. I forgot I should have brought some for you.
What is this?
Where's the pumpkins, isn't it?
No, it's up there.
Oh, okay.
Sweet
And-
potatoes.
Oh, it's on the table.
Sweet
Pumpkin,
potatoes.
isn't it?
So I've made your snacks for this evening out of what I could find in our garden, like the pesto and the chickpeas weren't made from my chickpeas, but I've made everything so you can taste beautiful homemade food as well, because that's something we get really busy in our lives and we forget the joy of just making food from stuff we can gather in the garden. I did a permaculture course last year and I realised a lot of the things that I thought were weeds are actually quite tasty and useful. And from our holistic management course, really got an appreciation of weeds as pioneer plants to start the ecosystem working. So we've got a really different view now of the value of weeds too. Quite a few stinging nettles now. So I hope you have enjoyed what we've put on for you and continue to have a nice time together. I do have a pumpkin because we've got so many, and I've harvested this pumpkin today, so I'm not quite sure how to give it away, but
It's up there on the
those
table.
landowners are elderly and they don't want whole pumpkins, it's too much for them. So we have, last year we grew watermelons like this and they said it was just too much. So if you would like a pumpkin.
Catch? I'm not. I don't know. Just let it go.
What sort of pumpkin is this?
It's a Kent.
That's a Kent
called-
pumpkin.
Wow.
Beautiful. So,
It's first come, first served, though, isn't it?
yeah, I'll leave it there. If you would like to take it, please do, because we've just got too many.
There's so many.
If you've got kids or you can make a lovely pumpkin soup, help yourself.
Well, thanks for the food.
Thank you. Delicious.
Just to say the final few words, Peter Grant is the chair of Living Earth Projects. Say a few closing remarks, and he's also going to announce the speaker for our next event, which will be on the 27th.
Somewhere towards the end of June.
It's the final Thursday
Fourth
in
Thursday of
June, which I
June.
think is the 27th, I think it is. People will tell us who's going to be speaking here as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Bernard. Before I go into that, I just want to pay tribute to our team, which is Living Earth Projects. So if you haven't met us all, there's Sarah up the back, Lisa just in front, Barb and Bernard, who you know, and myself. And we were instrumental in organising the hemp symposium at the Fremantle Sailing Club a few months ago. So I think some of you were there. So that was our first big event. We hope to do something as big as that at the end of the year. It could be about medicinal cannabis or regenerative agriculture. We might be teaming up with Mike Hume and doing a presentation about Witchcliffe Eco Village, and that might be at the Fibonacci Centre, which is in Fremantle as well. So for ongoing Sundowners, as Bernard mentioned, it'll be the last Thursday of every month at this venue, and our next speaker is going to be Chris Ferreira. Anybody heard of Chris before?
Yes.
Oh yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So
Famous around these parts.
he's going to be talking about another group that I'm a member of as well, called Sustainability Practitioners Network, and we're doing a lot of work with local governments, private landowners, and community groups in trying to do much better style suburban subdivision development. So instead of the usual flatten everything, build 3 big Dale Walcott style homes. Small footprint homes is what we want to do, retaining trees or planting lots of new trees, keeping all the parking of cars out the front, and having more shared common property space. So, you know, I can think of a few examples to tell you about, say Pinnacurry, green swing developments. So that's the sort of stuff we want to do. So it doesn't appeal to the majority of the market, but it's got to happen more often because we're just losing too many trees, and people are just motivated by making profit rather than creating good places for people to live. So Chris will be here at the end of
24th.
June, same time. So everybody's got access to our website, so keep a track of that on Living Earth projects, or there'll be reminder emails sent out, I think.
Yes.
So I hope you can all make it then for next month. So thanks for coming tonight. Hang around, keep mingling. There's still a little bit of food left, but lots to drink. So thanks for coming along. All right.
Thank you.
Can I ask just a